Yeah. So last week we talked about how does the tree think to grow? Think about it for a second. Does a tree think to grow, or does it just
Instinctively.
it just does it? So there is some subconscious reaction inside of our universe that just makes things happen. Now, the reason that it's assigned to water is because it's a flowing force. It's like a flowing pattern. It flows through everything. The rock, it grows, it just operates on a different growth cycle. Now the high priestess is assigned to this power of subconsciousness because she holds the book in her hand. Now, if we look at the high priestess, it has that's like the memory of divine source or source power. I like to say the high priestess holds the record and the hierophant reads it, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
Awesome. And if any point any of this is not clear, let's explore it a little bit more. Let's dig into it and try to figure out an answer. Okay? All right, cool. Also, I forgot to mention, I have these cards and they are good job points. So whenever you answer a question, you get a card, and the person with the most cards, uh,
It's nothing.
they get a prize.
Oh, prize?
I was thinking like maybe like a couple one-on-one sessions over Zoom. Like I'll guide you or like teach you whatever you need or want. We can explore that. So the more questions you answer, the more bonus points you get. All right, cool. So air, huh? Swords, good. We'll put that. Oh, we forgot to put cups for water. That's pretty given, right? Okay, so Amy says swords. Awesome. I think you get a bonus point. I'll run out of bonus points here. No, no, it's okay. It's okay. Actually, this might be rigged because the more advanced you are, do you need a session? No, we're gonna stick with it. We're just gonna stick with it. It'll encourage you guys to study on your own. Okay, so what are three attributes assigned to swords? Air. Thoughts, yeah. Thoughts. Good. What else? That's more of a firepower. Communication, yeah, communing, good. Good. Right, we have the Gemini. Usually, we have the Aquarius, right? They're like the communing, right? Transfer of energy. Good. One more thing. Reasoning. Yeah, definitely. Libra. So the reason we're going to go with reason is because Libra is the scales, right? It's balance, right? Good. That was an excellent one. Awesome. We have one last one. What is it? Yes. Pentacles. Earth. We can, you know what? We can put that up here. Okay, good. Bonus point. Just consciousness itself, and we can put here self. The self. Air. Self consciousness. So the last element, I'll just give it to you guys, is Earth. Okay. And what is the element of Earth assigned to? Coins and pentacles. The demonized pentacle. It's not so demonized. Did I tell you guys my theory? Why would divine source shape us into the shape of a pentagram if it was such a bad symbol? If you go like this with your body, it's a pentagram.
I used to make those in second grade, and my teacher kept saying, "Don't eat that. Don't eat that."
That's how we make stars. Isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
Why is it so evil? Why would source power lose the church?
And movies.
Movies, the church, right?
But
Hmm. Everyone needs a enemy to seem like the good guy. Yeah. All right. So, um, we'll just stay with the format that we switched over to. So we have pentacles. What else?
it's more the physical.
Yeah. So we have condensation, physical, because all these things are really invisible, right? Thoughts, emotion, passion, and then they all condense down into our human experience. So physicality, physical. What's associated with physical stuff? Money, or how about the body? We need those things to sustain ourselves. What's one other thing? Ooh, I could see that. You know what? We're gonna go with that. We're gonna run with that one. Good. Actually, you know, it'd be interesting to start adding to these exacts is your sun. So then when you give an answer, we're like, ah, so Virgo.
Was that a Capricorn thing for me to say?
Actually, yes, it was. Yes, it was. And we'll see why. We're gonna work with Capricorn energy today in the twos. All right. So that was a review of last week. We're not gonna go into the theory of one. It's just too much. It's too mind bending. But just understand that one is omnipotent. It's the all powerful, and one conceals everything. Everything is under the veil of one. Okay, that's all you need to know. Luckily, we're going to talk about two today. Now, this is the fun stuff. Moving on down, up, down.
Flip it.
So, I'm not for trick questions, but what is the shape of two? It's not a trick question, and it's not really a shape.
It's like
Are you talking about the walls of the house as a structure?
What would the shape of two be? Three is a triangle, so what's two? Yes, kind of. You are onto it. You're doing great. Stay with that line of thought. How about one line? We have two dots, right? Because one is a single point, right? So two would be a line that terminates, right? Let's erase this. It would be ending. If we had a line that continued on both sides, I think that would be like eternity or infinity. But two is just a line, and we'll explore why. We'll dig into it. Might need a better erase pencil. Thought the wet towel would work, but it's not so
you need
good.
rubbing alcohol.
Rubbing alcohol, yeah, that would be good. All right, so we have a line.
Yeah, I'm squinting because I have not brought my glasses, but I can look out.
You can write. You can draw this on your paper, so then you can follow us. It's really easy. Just one dot, two dots, and a line. So we have two dots. Whenever I ask what is the shape of a number, always imagine the dots. So 3 would be 1, 2, 3, which makes a triangle, right? And 4 would be what? A square. Yeah. Okay, cool. So we have a line. What are some properties of a line? We can gather information just by looking at a shape or a symbol. You just have to know how to look at it the right way. So what is this? Direction. Good. We're gonna make a list up here together. So direction. I love that one. That is so great. Direction. I'm terrible at spelling.
Where's my card?
Amy knows that.
Horizon.
Horizon. Oh yeah. Actually, since you are in the lead, I'm gonna have you be the anytime somebody answers a question, I want you to give them one. Just because it's kind of hard to keep up with it and do it at the same time. Okay?
Maybe a reading at the end would be the first, for cards. You guys
Oh,
read it
that's good. I like that.
for paralysis.
We'll figure it out.
Okay.
You will get some of my time. How about that? Whoever wins gets some of my time. Okay. So direction. I love that one. That is great. What else? Horizon. Okay, that's kind of direction. Horizon. We'll put it on here anyway. That's card worthy. We're getting engagement. We're engagement farming right now.
Connection.
Good. Now we're going the way that I really wanted to take us. Connection. Now, what if we were to draw a dashed line through the center here? What is that?
Crossing zone.
Separation. Good. That's card worthy.
Yeah, I didn't get one.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't be the card person. I only have so much
We're gonna start to make some issues with these cards. All right. I'm sorry. I thought it was a good idea. Okay. What about reflection? Reflection. Good. So, and we can actually gather reflection in a few different ways here. So we have the symmetry of the two dots. But if we also draw the Roman numerals, which is on the High Priestess, we have I. Also a reflection. Actually, the more I think about this one, it can go this way, it can go this way, it could go this way, and it could go this way.
Didn't they say I in agreement back in the day?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, I remember from
And what would that be? Connection. I. Agreement. It's a connection.
I was also thinking of the word comparison because you have nothing really compared against unless if there's another something.
Right. That actually leads us into the next one. You can give yourself a card for that. Comparison. Good. Uh, Now, why is 2 essential? This is one thing I didn't tell you guys about the ones. Why is 2 essential?
Put it more in, bring it more in focus. Yeah, in context.
Who said that?
Context.
Okay.
But she.
We're leading.
She's
We're on the right
maybe
path
I
here.
was reading her mind.
We're on the right path here. Now, if something that is everything, how could it be aware of itself? So 1 is everything. So if it's everything, how can 1 be aware of itself? It needs a mirror.
How about the whole thing behind like the nothing and the everything?
Sorry.
It is,
Glasses on. You
but
blind me.
okay, it is. Now think about it this way. If 1 is everything and it can only see nothing, then it can't see anything. So it needs 2. 1 needs 2 to be able to become aware of itself.
Would shadow come?
It needs a shadow.
Mirror, shadow.
It needs a mirror. It needs a shadow.
I remember reading in, I think it was in high school, about the first concept of other being a row of people. only aware of what they can see from where they're sitting, and then a light is cast behind them.
Oh, the allegory of the cave. Yeah, very familiar with that. That's actually a great analogy. Little different, but still good. So one needs to become aware of itself, right? Does that make sense?
They can look at each other.
They can look at each other, right? They can have connection. Although there's separation, they can also compare. We're going to use all these different things. And
No, not
don't get overly tardy. Just if it's like a good, strong answer.
Okay.
Right. Maybe I should take them back. Just kidding.
You can just point.
Oh, okay. Good. So this
Or
is
we
good.
can start going, hey, where's my car?
Yeah. All right, cool. So reflection. So we have here, oh, and then there's one other thing that I want to talk about, extension. So we have extension here, right? Right? It's two is an extension of one.
An expansion.
An expansion, right? It's an expansion. Oof. And if you kind of look at it, kind of looks a little masculine. Okay, so excellent work, guys. I'm very proud of you. So we talked about how one needs two to see itself. So two is the beginning of pattern. Here we have a unit of measurement. It's the beginning of measurement. And to extend outward, there needs to be some type of a desire or will, right? We kind of talked about this last week. To be able to move beyond yourself, there needs to be some type of desire, intention, or will. And we can condense these down into practical teachings for everyday life, right? We can condense these concepts into ways that we can use to better ourselves. To wake up, huh?
Like balancing.
Like balancing, yeah. Like balancing. Good. So, what are parents to child? Yeah. What are children to parents? It's not a trick question. Offspring. Good. It's an extension of your genetic material. It's a reflection of you. So when you look into your child, you see aspects of yourself. It's like 1 to 2. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Even though
Most people do. I mean, yeah, you could have a child that looks nothing like you and acts nothing like you, but it's still an extension of your biological material. Yeah.
And also, it's like it has a 3 though going on because the egg is actually coming from the mother
Mm-hmm.
that the guy has the baby. I don't know, but the egg is that like the eggs that are inside me are my mother's eggs. They aren't like
Mhm.
mine. So it isn't necessarily it is an extension, but it's like
Well,
a double
this-
down extension. So
yeah.
it actually takes a few.
And I'm glad you're bringing this up because I think this is my theory behind why actually the original thing or push from nothingness into somethingness was actually feminine. Because not only does the feminine receive, but it also gives.
It's like frogs and babies. Frogs can have babies without anybody.
Mm-hmm. I don't know about frogs.
No, frogs don't need anybody.
Oh, they don't. Oh, they self. They What is that called? What's the biological term for that?
I don't know, worms do it too.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I took a lot of notes today. Last week was, or a couple weeks ago, was more off the cuff. This is trying to be a little more organized right now.
I see what the point is, though, that you guys are trying to make, though. Is a child the extension of just the mother? It's not. It's more of a 3 than a 2.
Good. Okay.
Father,
Well, let's
too.
talk about this for a second. This is good. This is good stuff.
That's what you mean, right?
Yeah.
It is a 3. And I haven't shown many people this, but it's really interesting. Think about the shape of 3. Actually, it has 3 points. Okay. Actually, let's make it more round right here.
That's a
It is.
Pregnant,
It's a pregnant woman.
yeah.
It's a pregnant woman. Look at that. Now, what's even more interesting,
About three.
I love 3. 3 is like the birthing number. Look at this. It's 2.
Ah. Okay.
It's 2. 2 is a praying person. 2 is in the shape of a praying person. Yeah. So 1, 2, and we have 3. I love little things like this. Makes my life just so much better.
Now, are these things that you've actually come up with on your own?
Yes.
Okay.
Through meditation, through whatever guides me. But if we look at the properties of these things, and if you look at the esoteric concepts behind them, it makes sense.
Are they going in your next book?
I write every day. I write every day.
Did you publish your other book?
I did. Actually, Amy's gonna help me edit it a little bit, but if you
That's why
want,
I was making a joke about his spelling.
yeah,
Okay.
It's actually not your spelling.
it's.
It's spelled all right.
I know it's because I have a million thoughts running through my mind
I
and
was gonna say you
trying
just
to
jam all your sentences into one.
capsulate it into paper is very difficult.
Well, when it comes out, I'm gonna buy a copy of it.
You can get it now. It's just not edited that well. It's not the editing process was only done by me because I kept trying to find people and they would bail out on me. Because it's not a small book. Um, but somebody finally said that they would commit.
She had a car. She had a car.
No. Her and I, we already have an arrangement where I'm gonna give her some meditations and stuff like that. Okay, so the 2 prays to the 1 for 3.
Ooh, I like that.
You see what I'm getting at here? The 2 prays to the 1 for 3. And only people that walk this path with me will understand. These mystical concepts are difficult to convey unless you have all this other theory behind it. When I try to talk to philosophers at the university and I tell them these things, they're like, "What are you?" It's because they're not versed in this. They're versed in ethics and morality. This is like more spiritual philosophy.
You need to find some Middle Eastern people that hang out with.
Yeah. So anyway, 2 on this diagram. This is called the Kabbalistic tree. 2 is assigned to the Divine Father, and that.
Yeah, I
Can
can
you
see
bring
it.
that?
Oh, okay. I'm still gonna bring it closer. That'd be fine, but I can see it.
Well, I mean, all you have to know is that 1, or the powers of 1 or source power, reflects itself into 2. Now, last week we kind of talked about this a little bit. Why does masculine force come first? And that's because if expansion did not happen first, everything would just implode. We would live in a universe that just implodes itself. My voice, it expands first and it contracts down.
Wait a minute. I just thought how you just said that the 2 is assigned to the divine father.
It is.
So how does it come first if it's 2?
Because 1 expands into 2. Or you could look at it the other way, that it cuts itself in half. I mean, theoretically, either way is appropriate. But for the sake of this talk and the momentum of the talk, we're going to say that it expands.
And when you have that infinity sign, and the energy's going around like that, so when they intersect at that time, maybe that's when it goes.
That's
So
good.
that way it's kind of
That's good.
Okay.
So I've always meditated with this. Why would wisdom come before understanding? Because if one expands, it's expanding its knowledge or like its knowing outward. So it would. You ever heard of the word? Have any of you guys ever read like alchemical texts or like biblical esotericism? They talk about this thing called the word. Okay. Now, the word to me represents like the eternal mind, like the thing that thought of everything. We were talking about this last couple weeks ago, right? Was there a will to think or a thought to will? I think they simultaneously happened and they never had a beginning and they'll never have an end. They're eternal. They're outside of time. They're outside of a beginning. So the word expands outward and it carries all the wisdom of everything that can ever be thought of. So that's why I think that it's assigned to wisdom. Now, this is up for debate. If you guys come in and you're like, I disagree, we can have a conversation about it. I live for that. I live for those types of conversations. All right, cool. And if you think about it, two is an extension. So the word is extending outward, right? We're gonna line it all back up with all the things that we've talked about so far. So there's a lot of these notes that we didn't go over.
Is it the word or the sound? Because actually the word, how would anybody understand what the word is? Wouldn't it be a sound?
Thank you. So the Divine Mother is understanding. It takes it in. Right? Just like feminine force contracts in, feminine force understands the word. But what's also interesting is that um, the Hindus or people of India believe that the universe was created with sound. So once you get deep enough into these religions, I was a religious studies minor, but I had to switch. You start to see all these similarities between them, right? In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. Hindus, Om, they think the universe was made with sound, the sound of Om. So there's this interconnectedness of the idea of sound being a creative energy. And if you think about it, the way that we communicate and talk, how do you tell? You have to tell somebody you care about them. Like you have to say, "I care about you," and there's potential for growth, right? So it makes sense. Even these macroscopic concepts we can condense down into our everyday life to make them practical. And I want to keep reinforcing that. So wisdom has the power for recognition. Oh, you seem very wise today. I recognize that. So we have two reflecting itself. We have one and two reflecting itself. I recognize you. One recognizes two. Hey, that looks familiar. That's me. Reflection. Oh, I forgot to tell you the title of the talk for the morning. The title of this talk is Reflection, Devotion, and Reciprocity. So, two, there's also reciprocity.
Oh,
Yeah,
what's reciprocity?
reciprocity.
Yeah.
Somebody want to tell us what
Reciprocate,
reciprocity is?
to give back what one has received.
Yeah. So, two, it's reciprocal of one.
Reflection, devotion, and what was the third word?
Reciprocity.
Spelling this another.
And as we dig deeper into this, it'll make more sense. I don't want to spend too much more time on this theory, though. I want to move into the tarot. But just keep these three words in the back of your mind: devotion, reciprocity, and reflection. All right, who's done with the theory? Or do you want to keep doing this theory stuff? Hmm? Going with the flow? All right, we're going to shut it down.
Shut the flow down.
We're going to shut down the theory and dig into the tarot, the fun stuff, the imagery. Well, not so much the imagery, more theory. Keep the three words: reflection, devotion, and reciprocity, and what we talked about, the number two in our talk, and what we've been building. So, which two are we gonna start with?
There's 2 words.
Which two? Out of the
Fire.
2's, yeah, fire. Why?
Because you put that first and fourth.
It's first. Yeah. So there's a hierarchy to the elements. There's a hierarchy to the elements. It goes fire, water, air, earth, and it makes sense because masculine, feminine, right? The wands and the swords are masculine energy simply by their nature of being a line. Okay? Extension, phallic force, right? Okay? And feminine energy is receptive. All right. So, first is wands. And if you really want to get technical, fire is the lightest element, right? So, as we move through, actually, I take that back. Air could be, but fire rises. Let's just say that air has the potential to just stay.
Air breathes fire.
It does, and that's where it kind of gets a little bit confusing. But I'm pretty sure that this stems from some philosopher's idea of the elements. Just got switched around a little bit. All right. Two of wands.
It could be that light, the spark of light.
Oh, light too. Yeah, light and extension. LVX. That's what that means. LVX, light and extension. All right. So the Two of Wands is Mars and Aries. Who is versed in astrology? Impress me, please. What does Mars and Aries mean? You're onto it. Yes, very masculine. Yeah, so 2 is a masculine number, and it's in the suit of wands. So we have 2 masculine forces. Make sense? So masculine on masculine. Mars, I'll show you guys this. This is actually really funny. I did this one time, and I had the whole room laughing. You might have been there. Mars by nature is masculine. It's extending outward. You can use your imagination. I don't need to say any more. I don't need to say any more. So, Mars in Aries. Mars rules Aries. Okay? Mars rules Aries. And this is really interesting. So, it has to do with self centered action. So, Mars in Aries is like, look at me. I've entered the room. It's about self centered action. Now, if we look at the card, it is a guy holding a globe looking over land. This card is called the Lord of Dominion. Lord of Dominion. So, when we want to have dominion over something, what do we do? Fight. Good. Mars force.
I was thinking goats or whatever. Rams.
Yeah. Right. So, the symbol of Aries.
Aries is the god of war. I know that.
Yep. Good. So action. When we have dominion, when we want dominion over something, we have to assert ourselves. There's a certain level of assertion involved in that. Cool. Another interpretation I have for this combination of planets and astrological signs is the means of personality and identity. So when we have self-centered action, we have to be very secure about how we see ourselves. Right? And the beginning of projects, but without an end. So Mars in Aries has a tendency to burn out really quickly. balance, you're just gonna be like, boop, done. There's no progression, no dedication. It's just like, rah, I'm Aries. Here's my Mars force. And you just burn out really fast.
Like if you pick a fight and you don't have anything to back up your point of view, then lose.
Right, there has to be a balance. And that's why this next card is very important. So let's talk about the imagery for like a minute or two and then we'll move on. What strikes you about this card?
The white flower.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then I'll read you what I wrote. It's kind of long, though. I'll read just sections of it.
He has the whole world in his hand.
Mm-hmm.
And
Dominion.
reflecting on it.
Yeah, exactly. Good. Reflecting. Good.
Card?
Yeah, go ahead. Kind of forgot about that, but it's okay. All right.
We're still looking at the Two of Cups, right?
Two of Wands, my dear.
Oh,
It's okay. You're fine. Do you need a deck?
I got a deck with me.
Okay.
I just figured to use this.
You're fine.
I gotta sync it.
No interpretations?
What's striking me is how lonely he looks.
Ah, yeah.
He's supposed to have dominion and it's supposed to be extending outward. It doesn't look like extending, it looks like gathering.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like he has answers in a sense.
Mm-hmm. Good.
This one.
We're thinking, we're thinking.
Also an element of being trapped between wands.
Oh, I like that.
Because maybe having dominion is lonely and isolating.
How about Dominion also suggests organized rule over the comings and goings of goods and services, directing a specific path for manifestation. It is better to be devoted to to one who has dominion over life than to fight against their will. Possibly, we'll talk about that in a minute. Such as a teacher, boss, God, nature. You can't fight against nature. Science tries. They will not win. Um, the destruction of one's own will guides the personality and to the true celestial path created for an individual by the stars and natural regularities. I know that's a mouthful,
Yeah.
but basically, you can build yourself better by sometimes breaking it down.
Destruction of one's own will. What was the rest of that?
I'll send it to you. You can edit it. um,
Oh, but I don't know. I see, looking at this picture, the
Mhm.
wand is growing.
mm-hmm.
There's greenery on it. It's growing. Destruction to me would be a sword.
Okay,
You
good.
know, instead of a wand.
Mm-hmm.
To me, there's creativity in this.
Definitely.
He's creating his dominion. He's creating this world. He's up on top of this tower.
Mhm.
You know, it looks like some castle or something. He's looking over both land and water.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see it as destruction.
Sure. So,
But he may not want that much responsibility. So to destroy his own will is to create the rest of it. You know, if you see, you know.
let's talk about dominion for a second. What is dominion to
To me,
you? Mm-hmm.
well, it's power over a particular area.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and responsibility.
Mm-hmm. Sarah, what's dominion to you?
Ownership, control.
Control. Yeah, that's kind of what I was trying to get at.
What's that in his hand?
It's a world. It's the globe.
Okay.
How do you feel when you have somebody trying to express dominion over you that you don't want?
You revolt.
You revolt. Exactly. And how do you revolt doing that?
Push back, push back.
You push back, you destroy that dominion so that you can rebuild yourself.
Or you turn to meditation.
Turn to meditation.
But
But even in
I
meditation,
I push back.
even in meditation, the moment is fleeting. The that second that we just had is destroyed to the hands of time so that we can build forward.
But you gotta.
But going back to dominion,
Mhm.
it doesn't necessarily mean that it's, authoritarian and bad. It could be a peaceful dominion. It could be, a land that is thriving because the person that's at the head knows what they're doing,
Mm.
versus that's why to me swords are the things that strike and cut and, obliterate. But a wand, although it can be used as a staff for in in physical combat,
Mhm.
because there are some cards that have physical combat as a, for the wands.
Mhm.
But this, the wands usually have growth on them. That's why to me it, you know, I mean, even though there's strife in the world and all sorts of things are going, there's still a few big wars going on, but the world is getting more peaceful. There are less wars today than there have been in years,
Mhm.
and so Dominion people want to have some kind of, um, they want to have some kind of a government. They
Mhm.
want some kind of rules. It helps to keep people together.
Mhm.
Um, but if it's too demanding, authoritarian, that's when people lash out.
That's what. Yeah,
So
that's what I'm
it
talking about.
depends, I don't see that kind of dominion in this card that people are going to lash out. There's nobody, it doesn't say anything like that. It's like he's contemplating what he rules.
Sure. So let's talk.
So,
Yeah, no, that's fine. And I will give you the thinking behind this. When we talk about the Mars force, that is traditionally a force of war. So Mars, being the energy that it is, inherently has violence attached to it. It's a very violent energy if it's not controlled. So because the card represents rulership, it could have some negative tail ends attached to it, especially Aries. Aries is, if we think about the creature of the ram, it bounces around, it doesn't really have a direction. So directed dominion is probably a better description. I didn't make these up. These are sourced from various places, and I can give you the sources. Um, what is practical about this, though, is that when somebody tries to exert their dominion where it's not wanted, we should stand up for ourselves and push back, right? So if we're talking about an oppressive government, the only way to overturn an oppressive government is to push back, to uh, exert our own dominion over what we think is right. So that's the reasoning behind it. Yeah.
And in this card, I see a little bit of like fiery type energy as well, because back in the mountains, it's all red back
Mhm.
there. So that it has a sense that it's creating some type of wall. And then I also feel that with the wand, it's actually broken off from the wall. See, so it's kind of like he's deciding to do his own thing. He has a sense of, compared to the steady one that's attached to the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it has also, because he's behind the wall looking out. It also feels like a protective sense to it.
Right. So, getting back to our three words of the night: reflection, devotion, reciprocity. So, dominion, for appropriate dominion to take place, there needs to be some reciprocity. You can have dominion over me. I'll have dominion over these other things, right? There needs to be a reflection. There needs to be reciprocity. Now, what about devotion? What about devotion to dominion?
He's got to be devoted to, he's holding the glove, so he's got to be devoted to his purpose.
Good. What about I won't cross that line if you don't cross mine. I will be devoted to this agreement that we have. I won't cross your boundary, you don't cross mine.
This compromise.
Compromise, yeah. Reciprocity, compromise, devotion. Cool. There's more here, but we're going to move on. So, Two of Cups. Let's be conscious about time. Don't want to cross any boundaries. I don't want to overdo my, you know, my boundary here. So, Two of Cups. Venus in Cancer. Two very nourishing signs. Okay. And the interpretation for Venus in Cancer, which is Cancer is the fourth house. A nourishing homestead in natural occurrences. Intuitively psychic and empathetic, and reads the beauty of nature via the path of undeviating bondage. So, Venus in Cancer directly relates to the periodicity of nature. So let's look at the card for a moment. Oh, I forgot to tell you, this is called the Lord of Love. This is the second Lover's card in the tarot.
I know you told us before, but there's the lion with the wings, and there's that little symbol underneath them.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
That is a great question. This is one of my favorite symbols.
I know you've shown it to us before, but
I
I
have.
can't remember.
It's called the Caduceus Wand. And it's probably one of the most important symbols you will come across in esotericism. Honestly, I think it's like the yin yang of the West. And where do you find it? We're gonna deviate from the path a little bit. I hope you guys don't mind. Medical. Why would it be on a why would it be on an ambulance or medicine? Why would it be associated to that? Oh, my markers are not doing well.
Nurturing isn't exactly the right word, but I guess it lends itself to healing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We have two serpents rotating around a staff, and they meet at a single point, and then we have wings. Wings, let's just imagine here. Now, this represents the eternal bond between polarity. The eternal bond between polarity. Now, what is interesting about this symbol is that it has wings, and wings inherently infer to fly up in motion. Okay. They also suggest a rising going towards the sky. But what's really interesting about this symbol is that we have a single point at the top. Now, what are two polar opposites doing? They're trying to reach a single meeting point, trying to reach the one. Okay. Now, this represents binding, Okay? What is love? It's a bond. It's a flow of energy towards something, right? It's reciprocity. Love is devotion, reciprocity, reflection. Hopefully. Sometimes it's not reflected. But it's the weaving of two things. I love that fan. I'm showing love to the fan. The fan might not love me, but maybe it does. Who knows? Now, if we think about the body and the soul, when we look at the symbol of medicine, we go to the hospital when our soul is about to leave the body, right? So when we go to the doctor and we get medical treatment, they're binding the soul to the body. They're weaving it back together. When I'm cut and I get stitches, it's being woven back together. They're polar opposites in nature.
Unless they're pumping drugs into you. And then you're like,
Right. Then you're going far away. But they're still trying to save you. They're still trying to keep your I have mixed feelings about this idea of the soul. They're trying to keep your life power inside of your body. How about that? I have mixed feelings about the soul. I have my own ideas about reincarnation, of course. I'll tell them to you. I'll tell them to you one day.
I want to hear.
You want to hear it? How late can people stay today?
Oh, well, I keep everybody.
Okay. Basically, I believe that there is a mental charge inside of matter that we are mentally charging the atoms that create our body. Okay? Now, when our cells were being created into a baby in the mother's, womb, okay? There was matter being drawn into that child, right? Atoms, molecules, whatever. Now, that matter is neither created nor destroyed. That means that the matter that created our bodies was already here. Okay? Now, who's to say that a piece of a person that lived 2,000 years ago did not help create your body? This would mean that our bodies have the potential to carry a mental charge from a previous thing. So when we die, the cells that are in our body are charged with our mental force and they piece apart. Now, this would also explain why some children are so gifted, because when their body was created, say they know how to play piano at like 3. It's like, how does this kid know how to play piano at 3? Because their body was made from a previous person that was extremely talented at piano. And so it released that mental charge, that uh, that intellectual substance into their body. It's a it's not quite a soul. It is a mental charge, an intellectual charge. That's my idea of reincarnation. I don't necessarily believe in a personal soul, because when you start talking about something after death, it becomes so impersonal. And we, when you, it's just, it becomes too personal. Suggesting that a soul exists suggests that all of your mental activity is also attached to that soul in a way. To me. Yeah. Okay, so we can agree. There's layers.
If the doing of good and evil contributes to the evolution of your soul and the destination of it after death, yes.
Okay. So
So you don't believe in reincarnation, or this is
I
your
do.
This is your idea.
This is my idea of reincarnation. That instead of like a personal soul, I believe that we are fragments of an eternal mind that can work with it and augment cells.
And also we're influenced from the outside. Those energies influence our thoughts.
Right.
And download that information into us.
Right. This also kind of
my opinion too.
Yeah.
But yeah.
My idea of reincarnation also kind of aligns with the Hindu philosophy of like an omnipotent, they call it Krishna, an omnipotent Krishna, and our souls are just fragments of it. But I kind of draw a little bit more science into it. Like, well, what if this Krishna is just a whole bunch of atoms that we charge, right? How does somebody think their cancer away? Why is it that when we concentrate on a piece of our body that hurts, and the more that we imagine the cells piecing back together, the quicker we heal? It's because we have a mental charge that can influence the atomic matter that is creating our body. So who's to say that these atoms do not hold a mental charge after we die?
Yeah.
Does anybody want to chime in?
I think that's like the material body, and then there's like a spirit body that brings that intelligence and light into the physical part. I think they're kind of separate.
Yeah, I kind of, yeah. And I do believe in an eternal soul, but you retain your individuality after you die, even though you reunite with the soul. You take all of your experiences from this lifetime,
Mm-hmm.
and that is incorporated into the soul. The reason why you then desire to come back to Earth, and in Hindu, to drop the veil and not know all that knowledge, is to come and do something so different that to that the soul wants new experiences,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why you're coming here. And as and then you return, but you retain your individuality. You don't retain the, like you say, the matter stays here on Earth. It's, however, the spirit, the other part of it, of you. If you have several layers, you have the physical, the etheric,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have the mental, causal, all of that stuff. See, if you get into more of the Hindu stuff, then you'll see that they have all these other layers that go on,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So it's, and then on the other side of life, I mentioned this last time, but there's a lot of beings that are there,
Mm-hmm.
the guides, the angels, all these other forces that are working with you to be here on Earth. You're
Mm-hmm.
not here alone. It's just a lot of people don't see that, and unless you're a psychic, and then you can see beyond, and you see all these forces, and you see what's going on.
It's fair. I mean, we're all entitled to our own opinion.
Yeah.
I think that there is only one soul, and we're just fragments of it. Yeah. So I mean,
Even with that, even with what she's saying, it doesn't mean that there isn't a one energy.
Well, the one energy, it's saying that there's
It's embodied.
all there is, God, all there is. And then from there you have your fragments,
Right.
your
Mhm.
souls,
It's really
and then everyone kind of comes from there.
right.
So
Yeah.
it's and people are the ones that come down and reincarnate
Mm-hmm.
to learn things here.
It's all right. We're all entitled to our own opinion. I mean, to say you really know what happens after death, it's kind of a loaded, in my personal opinion, it's kind of like, we're entitled to our opinion, but you don't really know until you get there. And when you get there, um, it's over. so, so we're all entitled to our own perspective. But that's my idea of reincarnation. It's mental matter that's charged with our
Can I give an
mental
example?
substance. Yeah.
When I was a little kid, a really little kid.
We're getting so off the beaten path here.
Well, maybe not. I was a little kid and we would go to the lake
Uh-huh.
or the pool, and I refused to go in the water, and my mom kept saying, "Just get in there, you'll be a chicken." I kept telling her, "I've drowned before. I don't want to go back in because I've drowned before." She goes, "You never drowned before. You no." She kept trying to push me, and so then she signed me up for swimming lessons. In the swimming lessons, they wanted me to jump in the deep end. I was like, "No, I've drowned before." So as I got older, I kind of forgot about that.
Yeah.
And I went to see a couple of like card readers and psychics, and they've all said to me, "You've drowned before."
Yeah.
And then one night we were doing readings, and the one lady that's really good, she does like the African American lady, and she does like special cards, and she does like through instinct or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
She said, "You know, you've drowned before."
That's crazy.
And she said, I can tell that you're some kind of Egyptian child in an Egyptian family, and you went into the water and you drowned. I was like, I don't have an explanation, but where does all that come from? So
These are good talks, guys. I'm glad that we're having these conversations. We're all entitled to our own opinion. I'm open. I always forget to tell people. What I say is not set in stone. This is just to stimulate thought. This is just to get us, push you guys in the right direction with the tarot. You know, there'll never be a last word on the tarot, ever.
You did preface the whole thing with this is your opinion. So.
Yeah, this is my
Yeah.
opinion.
But that's what I'm saying. What happened to me, it still leaves me with no, I just don't have an opinion on it. It's like, okay, I drowned before. But, it doesn't, it's like the great mystery. It feels like a great mystery to me that I just don't really.
It's such a compliment.
Next step. That sounds like a good idea.
It's always a compliment when somebody says, "Oh, you've done this before in your past life." Like I always take it as a compliment. I'm like, "Thank you. Thank you. This is not the first time that I've heard this." So maybe there is something there, right? Maybe there is something that's like recycling through time that is outside of time. Because what we're talking about would be outside of time. It would literally be eternal. So, I mean, there's something kind of exciting about that in like a really weird way where it's like, okay, I'm not bound to time, like. And I think that part, because I'm a psych major, I think part of telling people there's an eternal soul is also to make them not afraid of death at the same time.
Also, alternate universes.
There's that too. That is on a whole nother level of time would move backwards there. It would not move forward. You'd regress. And I've heard that kids and people that are about to pass are more likely to remember previous lives because they're closer to that veil.
And I was insistent. I mean, totally insistent. And my parents were frustrated with me.
Mm-hmm.
It could have happened in another universe. That's what I'm saying. In another time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
And if you think about it, my idea of reincarnation is also compatible with the eternal soul. If you really dig deep down into it, right? So the soul, we could say, charged matter with a mental force, and then it left, right? Maybe that's why some people can remember their past lives because they picked up a cell or a piece of matter or atomic matter from a previous life that they had. So it is actually compatible with that theory.
I just keep wrestling with, you keep talking about thought, but there's more to a person than just thought.
Right.
So it's also recycled what? Emotion,
Experience, emotion. Actually, psychology is starting to believe that intellect and emotion actually evolve at the same rate. So the more intellectual you are, the more ability you have to have emotion.
And then there's
and vice versa.
deep thought. And people go into deep thinking, like a meditation, deep thought.
hypnosis.
Could be.
We're so far off the beaten path of love. But if you think about it, the soul loves matter. The soul loves nature. So we're not too far. And plus the weaving, right? The weaving of the soul and the body. So we're not too far off that because we have that image there. Everybody gets a card. Everybody gets a card, including you. If you guys keep coming, everybody will win.
So these two are like trying to be friends, or like trying to harmonize, or trying to.
They're showing reciprocity, devotion, and reflection.
But the male figure, that's a male figure, is reaching out.
Uh-huh. I'm not quite sure who's male or who's female, but we can suppose who's who. Because it's a 2, I'm going to say the male's reaching out because it's extension, right? Because it's a 2, and 2's considered a masculine force, products of extension. It is stick energy, yeah. The 2's are stick energy.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's okay. Can we take 5? I have to use the restroom so bad. I drank way too much coffee. All right. If anybody else needs to go too, we might. I do want to do a meditation with you guys, so I might shut it down like 10 minutes, and we'll do a meditation. That's okay. Okay. We'll do the same guided tarot meditation as last time. So this is your chance for a bathroom break, basically. So if you need to go, go.
Put the cards back.
We keeping these or what are we doing?
Meld it.
You're putting your cards back.
No, I
Target
put
for
the
those.
cards that I'm supposed to hand out to people.
Oh,
You're like,
I
oh, where's
see.
all the prizes?
I'm editing this book, so I think I'm gonna get these are gonna get dropped in a bucket.
I'm thinking about the signs and the planet. Top 2 of Wands is Mars and Aries, which are both very masculine. And then Venus and Cancer, 2 of Cups. Venus and Cancer are both very feminine.
Interesting.
So they seem very opposite, yet. Didn't he say like the number 2 is supposed to be masculine, or did I just make that up?
He said that.
So I
He
feel
did.
like the 2 of
I
Cups
was
is like the
confused by it.
feminine in a masculine lens.
He said 1 expands into 2, and that is
So
masculine.
is 1 the
That's what he
masculine?
was,
That's
he was trying to
expanding?
say that he thought maybe that, that the original was feminine.
Right.
So actually it is. Even though it looks like one, you know, but whatever too. So we'll just let him do his thing.
Slippery slope there. 1 expands into 2. Come on.
About an exploration.
I think you should sell your notes to the rest of us. Because, look at your freaking notes.
Good. I'm just like pretty much everything he draws, I draw.
I can't write fast enough to keep up with him, and then I end up with this gobbledygook. It's just like in college. I asked him to finish a thought for me, and he's like, I'll send it to you.
Who's having
You
fun?
guys go to together? No.
No.
Good.
Just, I was
Put
in
the
college
rest
for
of the
11
cards
years.
over there.
Oh, okay.
And I had
Okay.
I mean, on top of the.
Yeah, you're rewarding too many people. Just kidding. I think the sound bowl people.
I couldn't keep up with others.
We've only made it to the 2 of Cups, guys. And if any of you guys want sources for this stuff, I can gladly provide it.
I just want to record you so that I can fill in the blanks later when I.
It's recorded. I have a YouTube channel. I'm gonna post it.
Oh, sweet. Because I get like half the sentence. And then...
You want the name? Actually, I'm gonna give everybody my YouTube channel so you can listen to past sessions. You ready for it? It's called the Tarot Authority. I used to be the Mindful Hermit, but
Not everybody would get it, but the people who are into tarot would get it.
People get it.
yeah, I used to be the Mindful Hermit, but then I was like, the Tarot Authority just sounds way more like I know what I'm doing. Yeah, authoritative.
Dominion.
Dominion, yeah. Exactly. Lord of Dominion. Oh, what a card. There's other decks too. I really love the Hermetic Tarot. This is actually the deck that I use for readings. The Hermetic Tarot. And then I know this is a very controversial figure, but I use the Crowley deck sometimes as well. You guys ever heard of Aleister Crowley? Crowley?
Yes.
Yeah. Even though he was kind of a weirdo, some of the stuff he has to say is actually really good.
Yeah.
He's a controversial figure for sure.
I'm just, the word demonic is coming to mind.
You don't even know the guy, and that's what comes to mind?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah, take what he has to. What do you know about Crowley? Oh, you.
That's what I'm thinking of. Is his
Yeah. He drew a picture of his like master or whatever,
Yes,
and
yes,
it looks
I
like an
forgot about
alien.
That. That was so creepy.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah. He's
What was his name?
AWAS.
What?
AWAS. AIWASS.
Yes.
AWAS. So supposedly there's these things called like masters, and they can like drop bodies and reincarnate at will. And supposedly Aleister Crowley's master was named AWAS,
Oh, I
and
know
he
it
drew a
is.
picture of it, and it looked like an alien. It literally looks like a gray alien. Yeah. There's also this other master called Master R. Master Rakuza? Yeah, Masters of Wisdom are very interesting to read about. I'm not quite sure if I'm a full believer, but yeah. I want to give you guys the last definitions of these cards, and then I want to do a meditation. So we're not going to go into like all the discussion. I'm just going to give you what they're called, if that's okay. We spent a lot of time on the reincarnation things. That's okay. That's what you guys wanted to talk about. I'm here to facilitate conversation. I'm not here to do anything else. The Two of Swords is called the Lord of Peace Restored, and it's Moon in Libra. Now, if you're versed in astrology, you'll notice that before we had Venus in Cancer, and Moon rules Cancer, but now we have Moon in Libra, and Venus rules Libra. So they reflected itself. So I think that there's an inherent connection that's being made between love and peace because they did that switch. You see what I'm? Yeah, Sarah sees it. Cool. There's an inherent reflection that we can meditate on more between love and peace, right? Super cool to think about. I like thinking about that. So I gave you the astrological stuff, and then the Two of Pentacles is called the Lord of Change. So if we look at the card, it's like a guy juggling, and that brings us to like change, the products of change. He's also got a really phallic looking hat, right? The more I look at it, all I see is like a penis. But anyway, cool. And then so the Two of Pentacles is Jupiter in Capricorn, and actually, this series is encouraging me to write a book on the Minor Arcana.
Good.
So these notes are the beginning of another work. And if you want to purchase my original book that still needs some editing, but the content is there, it's called The Sage's Cloak, and it's on Amazon right now.
Really cool title.
My friend bought a copy, and I was like, I'm gonna sign it for you.
You gotta sign it for us.
It's a pre-edited copy.
Yeah.
That I have today.
If you get a version, let me know. I kind of want to start to keep track of how many sales to see if Amazon is actually like getting one over on me, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I own the rights, so either way, it's all good.
You send the title out to them.
Yeah, of course. Actually, I'll send you guys a free copy. Everybody here today gets a free copy.
Wow. And signed.
So I can edit it on paper.
It's gonna be a PDF copy, just because it doesn't cost me anything. All right, so
are all the signs or astrological constellation, whatever, it's always going to be matching the suit that it's in, or no, the element that it's in. So like
yes,
Two of Wands is going to be an Aries or like a fire sign.
we have a smart learner here. We have somebody that's going to catch on very quickly. Yes, it'll always be in that. It'll always be in that elemental suit. So the last one we had Jupiter and Capricorn. We actually have conflicting forces here, and I'll show you why. So Capricorn is ruled by what? Saturn. which is here on our tree. It's the mother. It's all right. You should have one of these. If you're actually devoted to learning the Kabbalistic tree, you should have one of these on your altar that you meditate with every day. I meditate with this one every day. That's why it's so beat up. Actually, I had it in a frame and then it broke and like it got all messed up, but I'm putting so much energy into this one. I'm like, I'm not giving up on you. Yeah. So this is the last bit of theory that we'll talk about. I don't want to fry you guys out. I want you to relax. Yeah. So, Saturn. So we have, if we look at the symbol, it's preventing energy. So when we try to rise up, we're held down by Saturnal force. Okay, and here we have Jupiter. So it can bring it up, right? It can move around. So Jupiter is the great benefactor. Saturn is the great concentrator. Saturn wants to give. I mean, Jupiter wants to give. Saturn wants to take. Saturn concentrates things. Jupiter expands them. Okay. Jupiter. And Jupiter is here, so it sits under the Divine Father. And remember last week, I said that everything on this side is masculine. So all these forces are masculine. And what makes this interesting, Mars is placed here. I know, right? But if you come that week, I'll explain why. Trying to keep you retain people. Get you excited about learning more. And what makes it even more interesting is that Venus is placed right here on the masculine side. So we have conflicting powers, but it makes sense once we dive into the theory behind it. It'll make sense. Yeah, I love this thing. I love the tree. I gather so much inspiration and knowledge from it.